Today, we're going to Bali. So my nice globe, it's in the South Pacific. So you have China, Asia, you have Australia down here, and Bali is right in the middle, basically along the equator. And it's located within a country called Indonesia. You might have heard of it. So we were in Bali, and Bali is a country where a lot of people go to surf, not only to mention that, as you can see in the background, it's absolutely gorgeous and the water is turquoise, blue, clear. Oh, it's amazing. So we were walking down the beach and I saw a man out there renting surfboards. I said, oh my gosh, Casey, we're doing this. So I went up to the man and I said, how much to rent a surfboard? So you've got to understand, some countries, it is completely normal to negotiate a price. That is just a part of how things are done. So I walked up to him, and I'm just going to use US dollars so that you guys can understand the concept. I walked up, I said, how much to rent a surfboard for an hour? He said, $20. I said, well, I've got 10. He said, well, and we started negotiating. Oh, 18. No, I've got 10. 15. I got 10. And he would not get down to my 10. I'm like, all I've got is 10. And I said, but then finally, like after a few minutes, I'm like, but I'll make it worth your time. I promise. I'll put on a show out there. And he's like, okay, fine. So he gives me the board. And here I am. I'm running out into the water with this board. I haven't surfed because I lived in Colorado then. By that time, it had been 4 years. And I just remember thinking, oh, that was great, Carrie. Good job. You just told the guy that you could like rip it up out there and give him a show, and you don't even know if you can surf today. So I paddle out, and my husband, Casey, he was a beach lifeguard, and he was also a swimmer and on water polo. So to say the least, he is a phenomenal swimmer. To this day, watching him body surf, it's like watching a dolphin in the waves. It's just, he's a natural. So I looked at him, I said, Casey, I don't have my surfing muscles anymore. I need you to push me into the wave. He's like, okay. So he was out body surfing around, and when a wave would come, I'd say, Casey, push me. And he'd take the back of the board and push me in, and I would, paddle, jump up and go. And it was like the first 1 or 2 waves, I got up, but I would like lose my balance because it was just like riding a bike again. Like it comes back, but it takes a moment, like a few waves, to actually like get it together. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, great job, Carrie. You better be able to surf because you told that guy that, and you can't even ride a wave right now. So I'm sitting there, no pressure. I pulled it together pretty quick, had an amazing surf session, loved it, had fun. I did see some people watching from the shore, and of course that makes you feel good. So at the end of my hour, I went to take the board back, and I said, was that good enough for you? He said, that was awesome. I was like, oh, thank you, good, yay. So here's part 2 to this story of our day. Casey was still in the water body surfing. Casey's a fish. He could be in there like all the time, hours upon hours. And he had given his wedding ring to the beach lifeguards. And I wanted to go get his ring back because that's our wedding ring, like his ring. And he gave it to strangers. And I know that he didn't want it to slip off of his finger when he was swimming. But it still made me nervous that some strangers had his wedding ring. So I went over and I asked them, I said, you guys, can I have the ring back? And they said, sure. And they gave it to me. And then, of course, I decided to go for a jog down the beach. Well, when you're sitting on the equator in the month of June, it's pretty hot and humid. So I ended up running down the beach, but I didn't get very far. And then I decided I'm going to turn around and go back. This is too hot for a jog. So I was running back. And one of the things we naturally did when we would go for runs on the beach is you would just reach down into the water and splash your face, and it just cools you down. So I had stuck Casey's ring on my thumb, okay? Now I'm a petite person and he's a big person, and so it was still loose on my thumb. Well, when I reached down to splash the water, it slipped off of my thumb into the waves. And here is persistent, stubborn medlock. And I am looking and looking and looking for his ring. I cannot find the ring. 15 minutes go by and I am still determined I'm going to find that ring. Well, at about 20 minutes, I had to tell myself, Carrie, you know how the ocean works. It's gone. You need to just let it go. So I'm like, shoot. Okay. And I felt so bad. All right. So I'm running down the beach and I'm running out to the water where Casey's body surfing. And Casey, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He's looking at me. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm just so sorry. He's like, what happened? And I look at him, I'm like, I lost your wedding ring. He's like, that's it? I'm like, yeah, but I lost your wedding ring. He's like, Carrie, I thought something happened to you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you are the coolest husband anyone could ever ask for. I was like, but I feel really bad I lost your ring. So anyway, when we got back to the United States, I went over to the Flatirons Mall and bought him a ring to replace it. And I will tell you, I have not lost any rings since of his rings. And he's probably on his 5th wedding ring. So that's okay if it's his rings. I will tell you, if it were my ring, that would be a different story. I still have my ring. So we're good. We're good. All right. So that was my Bali.